Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video, as you might be able to tell, I'm going to build a house in the world of Strangerville, which is the world that we got with the Strangerville game pack. Now, I haven't actually built anything in this world in a really long time, or I'm going to rephrase that. I haven't shared anything in this world in a really long time because I've definitely done some builds, but a lot of the time I'll do some builds and I'm not happy with it and I end up just scrapping them just because if I'm not completely happy with it, I don't want to share it. And yeah, so I haven't actually released anything in this world in a long time. I believe the last video that I actually did in this world was the Roswell's farm, which is actually a pre-made family that we got with the Strangerville game pack, and it was Meredith, and I can't for the life of me think of her husband's name. I feel like it might be Daniel, but I could be completely wrong there. But I built them a farm. They're meant to be like the oldest family in Strangerville, and I wanted to give them a really big house, and I also gave them 2 daughters as well, and then I just kind of made the house into a farm. And I'm only mentioning it because you might be able to see that build actually at some points during the video. That lot is actually directly opposite this lot, and so if you see it, it is the white and red house. And if you haven't actually seen the speed build, I'll put a card on the screen now for you so you can go ahead and watch it. But moving on from the Roswell farm, this lot is actually built on a 40 by 30 lot. Now when you go into the game, I believe that this is an empty lot. I don't think there was any pre-made families on this lot, and I don't believe there was actually a house either. I think it was literally just a completely bare lot, and I really wanted to build something Victorian, and Strangerville just kind of go together. When you load into the world, all of the houses, the pre-made houses, kind of have this Victorian aspect to them, and I really wanted to keep that within my save file, and so I decided to build this Victorian house for you guys today. And I did have a reference picture that I was looking at whenever I have a picture that maybe I get some inspiration from, or maybe if I'm looking at like a reference picture or anything, I always like to mention it just so you guys know. So if I can find the picture, I'll put a picture of it actually on the screen now so you can kind of have a look what I was looking at when I was actually building this. Now I actually went for a yellow and a kind of navy blue colour theme with this house. As you can see, one of the things I'm doing right now is actually going around and doing this massive porch, but you can kind of see at some points that I've already placed a few windows and one of the doors in. Now there's actually a lot of exit and entrance points to this house. I believe in total on the ground floor there's something like 4 different doors, so 4 different entrances. So if you don't want just townies coming into your game, maybe you've got a bug where townies will come in and just steal your stuff, because I know I'm experiencing that bug at the minute, maybe just go ahead and haul them 4 doors, because there's a lot of entrances and exits to this house, and that is just because of the massive wraparound porch that you can see that I've done. Now when I was looking at Victorian houses, the main thing that I noticed was there's always got to be a big wraparound porch, or it hasn't even got to be a wraparound porch, but there's got to be a large amount of porch space in the houses, and that's what I'll try to do in this house. The porch doesn't wrap around the whole entire lot, but there is a porch basically at every single point in the lot, but they're not all connected. So there is actually in total 3 different porches. There's the main one that kind of wraps around the main part of the house. There is also kind of like a little private porch out the back garden, and then there is also another private porch just by the study. So this house does actually have a study or an office, and so that office space does also have its kind of own little personal space where your Sims can go outside and, you know, read a book or do whatever they want to do. Now like I've already mentioned, this house's kind of colour palette is going to be a yellowy creamy kind of colour mixed with a navy blue. Now the reason why I actually did this kind of colour palette is because with the Strangerville windows and doors, they come in so many lovely different colours, and I want all the houses that I actually build in my save file in this area of Strangerville to have their own colour palette. So I've already done a white and a red house, which was the Roswell's farm. I've already done a purple Victorian, which was a purple house, and so I wanted to have a new fresh colour palette that I haven't actually used in this world yet. And so when I was actually flicking through all the different swatches that we have on the windows and the doors, I actually settled in this really nice white and navy swatch, and I just thought it was so lovely, and I was trying to think what kind of colour I could pair with it, and I just kind of felt like a yellowy creamy kind of colour would probably suit it best, and so that's why I decided to go with this colour. I don't think I've ever actually used this colour of paneling before. It's a base game paneling and then just the Strangerville windows and doors. As you can see, I'm actually going around and doing some of the windows now. I do want to mention though, some of the windows I do actually use I believe are from base game, and I think I actually attempted to use some of the windows that we got from Snowy Escape. And although the packs are completely different, like Strangerville is completely different from Snowy Escapes, the windows and I believe some of the doors as well that we actually got with Snowy Escape are just so nice, and they're so versatile. You can use them in pretty much any kind of build that you want. The windows come in white swatches, grey, black, and then different shades of brown. There might be some other ones, but whenever I go into the build and buy menu when we get new items, the first thing I look for is, right, have we got the neutrals, have we got the whites, have we got the blacks, have we got the browns, and have we got the greys, and anything else that we have in another swatch is kind of like a bonus, because I feel like white, black, grey and brown are just the universal colours that everyone seems to use in their builds. But as you can see right now, I'm just going around and adding some roof kind of like details, accessories to the top of the roof. Now I did actually skip over the majority of this because it was so time consuming. These were actually the roof, I don't even know what they're called, I'm going to call them roof accessories, but these little accessories we actually did get with the Strangerville game pack, and I actually sized them down twice and then kind of put them on top of the roof. I just felt like with them, with their original size, they were just a bit too big and they just were kind of off-putting, so I decided to size them down. But like I said, I did decide to cut out the majority of me going around and actually putting them on the roof because it was so time consuming, and because I sized them down, a lot of them on the edges I actually had to move objects them up because for some reason they wouldn't clip, which was actually really strange. But anyway, as you can see, I'm currently going around and just adding some terrain paint, kind of laying down the foundation of where I want to put some of the plants and the landscaping. I do this in the majority of my builds just so it's easier when I actually come in and start landscaping and adding the plants and the trees and the bushes and etc. And I've actually already started landscaping now, unfortunately, and it was so annoying to me, but when I was building this, and I don't know what point it was, but when I was actually furnishing the inside of the house, all of the terrain paint just disappeared. It vanished and I was left with a terrain paintless lot. There was nothing left, and it was so frustrating because I spent so long doing the terrain paint on this lot, especially with the pathways. I spent so long trying to get them as smooth looking as possible and they just disappeared, and it's so annoying. I feel like this bug has been in the game for so long. I remember I used to experience it all the time, and so what I've actually started doing in every single one of my builds is I'll do a certain amount and then I'll actually save the lot to my library, because then if the terrain paint does disappear, I can just re-download the previous version of the lot and then carry on. But when I actually realised that the terrain paint had gone missing, the last time I actually saved the lot to my library was well before I actually went in and furnished it. And so I could have just carried on and, you know, I could have carried on with the build, but then I would have had to redo all the kind of furnishing, and I'd just rather do the terrain paint rather than doing the furnishing. So that was quite annoying. I hope that bug gets fixed, but then again, there is so many different and more important bugs in the game at the minute that need to be fixed. It's unbelievable. Like, some people can't even load into the game, which I just think to spend, I mean, this might get a bit political here, but to spend the amount of money that some people have on The Sims 4 in general, not even just like the Sims franchise, just The Sims 4, if you have every single expansion pack and game pack and stuff pack, it can be really expensive over the years. Obviously, you're not going to buy them all in one, or you might, but most people don't buy them all in one. But what I'm trying to get at is you've spent so much money on a game and then they kind of release patches that haven't properly been play tested. My friend personally can't actually load into their game, and they've just been stuck on the loading screen for like 20 minutes and then she had to exit out of her game. And so I really hope they kind of just sort all the bug fixes out, because what's the point in releasing an expansion pack or releasing a game pack or any kind of patch or a massive patch update that's going to add so many more improvements to the game if no one can play it? I would just personally really appreciate if maybe they kind of held off on the latest or the newest stuff pack or game pack or whatever pack they're going to release next. I kind of want them to hold off for a bit and just fix every single bug and every single glitch and everything that's wrong with the game that's not meant to be wrong with the game. I just want them to fix it, and would rather have the actual game fixed, like the main core of the game fixed, rather than adding more content to the game, which is probably going to break the game even more, because every single time we get any kind of new update or anything, the game just breaks, and it's just so, it hurts because you just want to play your favourite game and you can't because it crashes every like 5 minutes or so. The other day I was just playing it with my current family and I was so far into the game, and I know a lot of people do it as well. When you're so far into the gameplay, sometimes you don't save every 20 minutes and you don't save every like ever so how long, because you're actually just enjoying the game. And my sim literally just changed her clothes, and because she changed her clothes, the game just crashed and I lost hours worth of gameplay. And I just kind of stared at my computer and I just thought, right, okay. And then I just left it, and then I turned my computer off, and we shouldn't have to be experiencing that. I feel like I'm just getting so just like political and arguing kind of here. I'm not arguing with anyone, I'm just kind of expressing my opinions because everyone's allowed to express their opinions. I just want them to fix the game, because what's the point in having a game that people have spent hundreds of pounds on or hundreds of dollars on if you can't even play it? What's the point? Anyway, moving on from that political statement, as you can see, I'm actually now moving on and I'm doing the garden. Now with the garden, I got to use my favourite fence that I haven't actually used, I don't think ever in the game. I've had it in the game for a good few years, but I've just never used it because I've never known what kind of lot to build in it. Because this fence that I've used, by the way, it's the one from Romantic Garden Stuff, but we got it with the pack, and it's just such a grand fence. Like, it's not your average suburban family home fence, and it's not like your kind of community lot fence. This is a grand fence for a family that's probably got a lot of money and they kind of want to be kept away from the rest of the world, because it's quite a high fence and it just looks so beautiful. And I really wanted to use it, and I was going to actually use a base game one, but I thought, you know what, I'm just going to use my favourite fence in the game. My second favourite is probably the backyard stuff one, because that's just such a nice just picket fence. It comes in a lovely range of colours, but if I'm being honest, this is probably my favourite fence, and I've just never used it because I've never felt like I've built anything that's worthy enough of this fence, because it just looks really grand to me. As you can see though, in the rest of the garden I have got a little kind of barbecue area. There are some swing sets. Currently I'm focusing on this flower arranging table. This lot actually ends up having 2 flower arranging tables, because there's actually one in the back garden on the grass, and there's actually one in the private kind of like porch balcony area, which is off the study. But now, as you can see, I've actually moved on and I've started furnishing the bathrooms. Now I just kind of wanted to get the bathrooms done when I went into this build, but I actually ended up loving these bathrooms. Normally bathrooms are kind of like a boring task. Bathrooms aren't really that interesting, but I really like the way that this one turned out. As you can see, it's abnormally large for a bathroom. Just the area of which the bathtub is in, just for the bathtub, would normally be like the average bathroom size in a lot of houses, but this family that lives in this house has a lot of money, and I just realised I haven't even spoken about the number of bedrooms or the number of bathrooms in this house. And so basically this house has 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, 2 big bathrooms like this one, and then there is also a little small bathroom downstairs that just has a toilet and a sink. Alongside the bedrooms that I just mentioned, there is also a office kind of like study area, which I think I've mentioned, and then there is also an activity room. Now with the activity room, it's kind of like a room that has so many different gameplay objects in there. So it's got the grand piano, it's got the darts board, it's got the foosball table, it's also got a little bar area. So maybe the family that are going to live in this house, maybe they like to throw a lot of parties, or maybe one of the children in this house has a kind of like a get together group. I can't think what they're called, but you know them like club systems. Maybe this is the hangout, or there's just plenty of activities for your Sims to do in this house. If you're one of the players like I am that never really gets to leave their house because they can never really be bothered to go through the loading screens, then I don't think you're going to have a problem with kind of lack of activities in this house, because there is so many different things to do. As you can see, I've now just moved on to this said activity room. So it's located at the back. It's got the little private balcony. On the little private balcony there is also an art easel. There is also a chess table, and I think that might be it. There might be a seating area as well. As you can see though, I have just placed the grand piano in the corner. I really like the wallpapering that I did in this room. By the way, I forgot to mention, as always, I did do the wallpapering and the flooring off camera. It just takes me way too long, and especially in this house, I was and ahhing of what kind of wallpaper and what kind of flooring I was going to use. The wallpaper that I actually use is a base game one, and like the fence, I absolutely love this wallpaper, but I've never actually built a house which I feel like it fits in. Like it's quite a grand wallpaper, and so I definitely felt like it would fit into this kind of activity room located at the back of the house. As you can see, I'm just going around and just cluttering up the room with some decorations and adding some posters and like little cork boards and stuff like that, just to kind of give the room a little bit more clutter and realism. But now moving on, I'm doing this little kind of a study office nook area, and for the family that I'm actually going to have living in this house in my save file, I imagine that one of the parents is actually going to be an author. Now originally I was thinking that maybe they could be a children's book author or something like that, and so I did debate adding some kind of like children book stands, because in the debug menu you can actually go and find all the different books that are actually in the game, and there's kind of like book stands for them. I did debate adding in some of the children books one, and then I'd kind of debated adding some of the, like the normal looking book covers in here, but then I thought maybe if you're wanting to download this house and playing it, maybe your sim doesn't want to be an author, so it'd be a bit weird if they just had like stacks of books on the side, and so I decided to scrap the idea. But in here, as you can see, there is just a large bookcase. I used the one from university, and then there is also a little desk area, and it's just kind of cluttered up with a few books, photo frames and flowers and just general clutter. I do also add a fish tank in here as well, I believe. I think I actually use the ones from cats and dogs. I feel like whenever I use a fish tank, it always seems to be in offices more so than anywhere else in the house. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like fish tanks just kind of perfectly make an office an office. I don't know what it is, but anyway, moving on. As you can see, I've started furnishing the kitchen. Now, I was umming and ahhing about the kitchen counters in this kitchen for so long. Originally, I was going to go with the ones that we got from the Vampires pack, because with the Vampires pack, all of the furniture is very Victorian, and obviously this is a Victorian house, and so I kind of wanted to keep within the theme. But there was either 3 swatches which I could choose from with them counters. The first one is kind of like a dark brown and a black countertop. My favourite swatch of counter is probably the green and the white one. I just think it's so beautiful, and I did attempt to put that into this room, but it just kind of didn't work with the rest of the house, and so I decided to delete it, and I decided to use these base game ones instead. As you can see, there is a large kitchen counter in the middle, and I'm so thankful that with Snowy Escapes we got an oven that doesn't have a little back thing. I don't know if that's very descriptive, but basically whenever you do an island counter in the game before we got Snowy Escapes, there was always kind of like a back to the oven. It kind of like stuck out over the counter, and it was just really annoying. And now with Snowy Escapes, the new oven that we've got actually doesn't have one of them, and so it kind of looks seamless, which I'm really happy about. I could have probably blended it in more if I actually went with the white swatch of the oven, but I didn't want it to blend in, and as I actually had a black fridge in this kitchen, I didn't want to have a black fridge and then like a white oven, and so I decided to make it into the black swatch. But now, as you can see, I've just moved on and I've started doing the dining room. The dining room is quite a small little space, but it works perfectly for the purpose of being a dining room. As you can see, it's got a large dining room table with loads of chairs. It's also got a fireplace, and then there is also some decorational kind of objects around just to kind of clutter up the room. I actually use the curtains on the windows, which are from base game, and I don't believe I've ever actually used them, but I was trying to find some curtains that didn't like clip in with the fireplace, and I just kind of wanted them to look like they were meant to be there and not out of place, and so the base game ones just happened to be the ones that I ended up using. As you can see though, I've now moved on and I've started doing the lounge room. I redid this lounge room so many different times. Obviously I cut it out because who wants to watch me refurnish the same room, but I couldn't decide on the sofas that I was going to use. As you can see, I went with the university ones, and I also matched it with the university armchairs. Now, as you can see, they're 2 different colours. Originally, them sofas were navy, they were grey, they were white, they were all pink, and I felt like it was just too much of one colour. So then in the end, I decided to go with the white 3-seater sofas and then have the armchairs just in like this blush pink colour, and I just felt like it worked well. The blush pink also kind of matches the rug that is also in this room, and so altogether I feel like it came together quite nicely in the end. But me actually furnishing this room took me so long to actually figure out a simple concept of just changing the armchair's colour. I don't know why it took me so long, but it did. Anyway, as you can see in this lounge, you just have the kind of like basic normal things that you would find. There's a fireplace, there's a TV, there's sofas, and I think that's pretty much it. There might be a bookcase in the corner, but I can't entirely remember. But now moving on, I've just started furnishing the hallway. Now, I was debating cutting this part of the video out just because I didn't want to make this video really long, but I actually really love the way that this hallway turned out, and so I kind of felt like it was actually a room in itself rather than being a walkway into the rest of the house, and so I decided to keep it in. As you can see, it does have the normal kind of typical hallway items. So there's a clothes rack, there's a shoes rack, there's the umbrella little stand thing, there's also a thermostat, and most of the objects that I normally would put in a hallway, to be fair, are in this hallway. But then I also decorated it to be kind of like a little seating area as well. This kind of hallway does have the tower of one of the towers in the house in it, and so you can kind of see I did actually put one of them 3-seater sofas, but they kind of go in at a diagonal. I don't know how to explain it, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. But it just fitted really nicely into this space, and the swatch they actually use of the sofa, I think the actual sofa itself is from cats and dogs, but the swatch of the sofa matched the door so perfectly. You couldn't write it. It just was so nice to actually see the swatches matching, and they were from completely different packs, so I was really happy about that. But now moving on, I've started furnishing the upstairs, and I actually started off with a teenager's bedroom. So I imagine a teenager to live in here, and so I wanted there to be a double bed. It's quite a large room. I probably could have made this room into the child's bedroom though, because it's actually the smallest out of all of the bedrooms. All the bedrooms and all the bathrooms upstairs are really, really big, but I feel like this family that lives in here are going to have a lot of money, and so it kind of explains why they're all so big. In here though, as you can see, I do just have this little desk computer area so your sim can sit down, maybe do some homework, maybe play some video games. I personally imagine the sim that's actually going to sleep in this bedroom to be maybe a bit of a gamer, so maybe the sim likes to play a lot of games with their friends or whatnot, and so I tried to decorate it to that, but I feel like it's quite hard to replicate a gamer personality in the Sims anyway, for me personally. But as you can see, I am just cluttering up the wall space with some skateboards, some flags, some all different kinds of things. I did actually put the university kind of little flag decorational, like wall decorational thing, but I don't know if this sim is actually in university, or maybe they're a teenager, or maybe you could have a young adult that lives at home. You can honestly do whatever you want. It could either be for a young adult or for a teenager, but I was personally imagining a teenager. Maybe the flag is for the university that the sim actually wants to go to eventually. But as you can see, I am just finishing up this room now, and I did actually just add that wall decoration which we just got with Snowy Escapes. And in my last build, I actually built an onsen bathhouse. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll put a card on the screen now, but in my last build I actually was going through the swatches of this like wall decoration, and I saw that there was a tiger one, and I said in that video that I really wanted to use it in a teenager's bedroom, and so when I was building this, I just needed to use it because I really wanted to put that wall decoration into a teenager's bedroom. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've started furnishing another bedroom. So I imagine this bedroom to be for a child. Now I actually have quite a funny story about this room. It's not actually that funny, but I actually have a story about this room. So if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen that on, what night was it? Wednesday night, I actually tweeted that I thought the baby crib was missing from the Sims 4 catalogue, and I was adamant that this baby crib was missing from the Sims 4 catalogue, and I was thinking maybe they've taken it out because we're going to get updated babies. There's been rumours about updated babies and all sorts, and I searched everywhere for this baby crib, and I eventually went into saved rooms, tried to pick it out of the saved room because there is actually a nursery in the saved room aspect of The Sims. And I actually realised that the reason why I couldn't find it is because I had my custom content turned off, and I actually had an override of the baby crib. And so I spent a good 40 minutes searching in the catalogue for a baby crib, because originally this was going to be a nursery, and all along I just had an override of it, and that's why I couldn't actually find it in the catalogue. And so in the end it didn't even end up being a nursery. As you can see, it ended up being a child's bedroom, but I just thought I'd share that because it was really frustrating. I couldn't believe how long I actually spent trying to find this baby crib, and it was just an override. I had some custom content that was an override of the original one. So yeah, anyway, moving on and actually speaking about this bedroom, as you can see, this is a child's bedroom, and as you would have seen, I did just cluster up the windowsill in this bedroom. The window that I actually used in here was a base game one, and I absolutely love that it's got quite a deep window, kind of like a shelf area. And so what I actually did is I moved objects, some toys on top of the kind of like windowsill area, and so it kind of looks a little bit more realistic, a little bit more cluttered, and just a little bit more like a kid's room. As you can see, I did also just add in the science table. I am so happy that we got that science table. I didn't speak about it in my last build because I was doing a community lot, and obviously I didn't use this new science table, but I have been asking and just praying for a new science table for children in The Sims for years, and we finally got one, and I'm so happy about it, so I had to use it in this build. But as you can see, I am just going around now and finishing it off, and in some wall decorations, and I'm currently going in and trying to find a rug to match the rest of the room perfectly. As this room was quite a blue and white theme, I wanted to find one that kind of stuck to that theme, but I just ended up going with this launch day one instead. But anyway, moving on, as you can see, I've now started furnishing the next bedroom in this house, which is actually another teenager's bedroom. I personally imagine the family that's going to live here in my save file to have 2 teenagers and 1 child, and so this is the other teenager's bedroom. In here, I went for a very peachy pink kind of theme with hints of yellow. I absolutely love this room. It's filled with fairy lights, it's filled with plants. It just looks so cozy. I would personally be really happy if this was actually my bedroom. I just had so much fun when I was decorating this bedroom, so hopefully you guys like it. As you can see, there is also one of them kind of corner 3-seater sofas in the tower part of this bedroom. I really wanted this bedroom to definitely be a teenager's bedroom, as it had that kind of corner sofa aspect to it, and I kind of feel like a teenager would more get that than a child, and so this is why I decided to make this one into a teenager's bedroom. As you can see, there is also a little desk area in this bedroom, as well as the get together wardrobes. Now I imagine that maybe this teenager is also in a club with get together, and maybe they're in there, maybe like the Paragons or something, and they all like to come over and maybe like try on different outfits and stuff. And so I wanted to add that get together into this room, as there was kind of like the perfect space for it. But as you can see, now I'm just going around and just adding so many different posters, so many different just wall decorations and just like statement pieces into the room. As you can see, I did just use this thing from Seasons. I'm calling it a thing because I'm not sure what to call it, but it's kind of like a flower decal that we've got with Seasons. I placed that above the desk. I also use a Knifty knitting wall decal, which kind of looks like a knitted kind of piece of wall art and stuff. There's just a lot of wall decorations into this bedroom. It's definitely very decorated. But in a minute, I'm actually going to add my favourite part to the room in, and it's actually this kind of shelf that we got with from Eco Lifestyle. As you can see, I've just placed it in now. This really reminds me of kind of like an IKEA shelf, and you've got kind of like fake plants hanging off it. That was kind of what I was going for when I added this in, and so I was just so happy with the end result of this bedroom. I also do go in right now, as you can see, and add some of the hanging plants that we got from Knifty Knitting in a few of the different swatches that we got them in. But anyway, moving on, as you can see, I've now moved on to the last bedroom into this house, which is the parents' bedroom. And I must say, normally I'm not that fond of decorating and just kind of doing parents' bedrooms, because I feel like the majority of the time they're quite neutral and there's not a lot of personality into them. Because with parents, there is two Sims living in one room, and so maybe they have opposite personalities, and so normally I just tend to go with pretty neutral bedrooms. And although this is a pretty neutral bedroom, I absolutely love the way that this one turned out. As you can see, something that I've actually done is I've merged two of the vintage Glamour Stuff mirrors together, and I actually put this curtain that we've got from movie Hangout, and I kind of like put it so it looks like it's draped over the mirror, and then put a plant in front of it, and it's next to the like vanity dressing table. I just really like this bedroom. It's not even that extravagant and it's not that amazing, but I just really like the look of the mirrors together and the plant and the curtain draping over it. I just feel like it looks so elegant and just a really nice put together parents' bedroom. As you can see though, I did actually use the 4-poster bed that we got from City Living, and then I am just going in now and clutching up these little side tables. I think the ones that I actually used are from Discover University. And then in a minute, I'm actually going to move on and furnish the balcony. As this is the parents' bedroom, they do actually get the main balcony, which looks out onto the whole of the garden and the whole of Strangerville. It's actually some really, really pretty views. But anyway, guys, I am actually going to end this voiceover here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is JessicapieYT, or you can just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT, or just the hashtag Jessicapie. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, if you do like my content and you do like my videos, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedboarding video. Bye guys.